now that we have done the bottom, we're going to build up the size of the basket by inserting on each end, inserting the stakes. And for instance, you see, remember I said there is the willow has a back and a belly. So we're going to find 24 stakes and sharpen them. You see, it's a bit too fat, so I'm cutting a little bit off. Make a long cut like this, I will show you. So these stakes will become the size of the baskets, and they will become the border. If you look at the basket, for instance, this one has about 36 stakes, which are inserted in the bottom, and they become the basket border. So you want the stakes to be sturdier than the weavers. This is a 3x3 bottom that becomes 24 stakes. And so the basket's handle is woven independently. So we start now. You have the bottom. We trim off with the blade of the shears towards the work. In other words, not like this, because if you were like this, you would be cutting a little bit too far. So nice and snug, go all around the basket. Go around. And now we will select 20, that's what we have, 20 willows to make the 20 stakes, the 20 uprights. So I have 3 here, and you just take up, you see this bundle, a little bit on the fat side, so I'm going to choose the really thinnest willows. You see, you start at one end, you go through the bundle, and here we go, there's a couple thin ones. Oh, I only need 20, so I go through. There's a few thin ones. Since we're weaving a small basket, and you know, there is traditionally. People who were blind in Europe used to make baskets, and very good baskets. So it's really by feeling the rods, you can really select them well. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19, 20. We check if there is a kink. Okay, so we have our 20 willows. And now we sharpen these willows. You can use just a regular, any type of knife, and you make a long, very long cut like this. And basically, my right hand is here and doesn't move, and it's my left hand that brings the rod to the knife. And you put your thumb on one side and your knife on the other, you see? And that's all. Boop. Boop. Sharpening the 20. Oh, so you always, I'm looking at the belly. Looking at the belly and doing the cut on the right. You could look at the back, it doesn't matter as long as they are all the same. If it's a little bit too fat, then I cut a bit more here. It's important to make a long cut so that the willow will slide in easily. So now we cut our 20 uprights. We're going to insert them in the basket. Now you have different options. You could make a basket that goes around, or you could make a basket that goes straight up. Today, let's make a basket that goes around. So we take a rod, you put it here so that it's already pointing the right way, it's already pointing up. And you insert them one by one, like this. A good inch or a good 2 centimeters, basically as far as you can, but not to the core of the bottom. Okay, there. That's when you use the awl. If it's hard to go in, you can use the awl. There. So important that they are all facing the same way. So, oops, I didn't do this one. So, of course, for these stakes, you want to use good, very flexible willows that are not going to break at the border. Because if you don't have willow, access to willow, well, you may have, you see, if it breaks, it's okay. You may have access to willows, to wild willows, and then locally in your area, you may find out that you have different types of willows. Some are more supple than others. So you learn to recognize them and to use certain types of willows for the border, and maybe other types that are more brittle for the sides, where you're not asking that much from the willow. Okay, we're almost there. 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 I need one more willow. Was that the one I sharpened? Yeah. Okay. There. And now, since we want to make a basket that goes around, with your thumb, you can prepare that first little bend. So you go around the basket, and with your thumb, you soften the willow on the first 2 or 3 centimeters. There. So that it will make it easier for the rest. Now that we're done this step of inserting the stakes, I'm going to put a little plywood circle on my table. It's a bit like a potter's wheel. It helps you make the basket round. I put a washer under the plywood there. And here we are. I just use a screwdriver. There. So that your basket will be nailed to this plywood. It will greatly help you make the basket round. So you could use nails. I like to use little gyprock screws, so you center it. And really, only 4 screws is enough for 4 nails. I nail right into the spoke, right into the stick, so that it holds really well. The stick may split, but it doesn't affect it. It doesn't show. There, 1. I just go like that across. I don't go right at the end of the stick, but more like about a centimeter away. And then I put 2 more here. There, right in the meat. There. Tack. There somehow something happened. I'm going to hold it really nice. Okay. That's all good. And now I can bring up the steaks, putting them nicely in order so that it's easy to adjust them after. It's going up. It's going up there. Oh yeah, you see this one got it got kinked at the base, so it's probably better. You can use the same one. I resharpen it here. There. Use the awl. Tack. There. Round. And now it's okay. So here they are. You see, you can raise your hand. It comes around like this. Okay, so you already want to more or less give the shape of your basket. Okay, put them in order. There. There. And now we take a long, slender willow, and to make the tie, you just go like this, go around. Now, as this willow goes around the fat part, you turn it. You may want to twist the willow, you see, a bit like you twist a rope, to be sure it doesn't break. And here you just poke it into that little hole that happened. And here is your tie. Cut these off. Okay, so we have a start. I like to have it like this. There. There. So now that we have the stakes in place, we will start weaving the sides. And you always start by a wale, and I'll explain to you, at the bottom and at the top of the basket before the border also you do some wale. And here you can see the wale here, this is a wale, and so is this. And it's a weave that evens out the basket, and it's a weave for strength and solidity. That also helps you make the basket round, because you're going constantly over 2, behind 1, over 2, behind 1. So to do a wale, you simply take 3 willows, well matched. That means, for instance, you see this one is too small, too short. So here they are, and they are not kinked. You start by the tip. So your right hand will weave, and your left hand will hold. Constantly the left thumb holds. You put a tip behind one rod. You put another tip behind the next rod, and you put another tip behind the next rod. So that now you're holding with your left hand, and constantly now the last willow of the three will go in front of two, hold with your thumb, behind one. The last willow of the three will go in front of two, one, two, behind one. And in front of two, your thumb is here holding it. And you carry on in front of two, behind one. That is to say, the last one becomes first. You don't have to count. In front of two, behind one. In front of two, behind one. So this is a 3-rod whale. Sometimes you make 4-rod whales, or 5, but a 3-rod whale is sort of the most common for what we do. So in front of two, behind one. In front of two, behind one. That's the whale. And as the whale now is in, you're going to you can start pulling this way. And that's also what helps making the basket round, since you're constantly going in front of two, behind one, in front of two, behind one. As you weave, you even out the spacing between the stakes. One, in front of two, behind one. And you're going over the area where you started. Behind one, in front of two, and behind one. I can do a little bit more. In front of two, behind one, in front of two, behind one, and that's getting a bit in front of two. No, I'm okay. In front of two, behind one. Okay. Now we will add butt to butt 3 willows about the same diameter. 1, 2, 3, and about the same length. And all one does, here I'm going to lift it up a tiny bit, you open the door and slide in a rod. You open, you just slide the rod along the other like this, beside each other. Whoops, not above each other, but beside. And so if this willow is in the way, chop it off now. Okay, here we are, we start over. In front of two, behind one. Very simple way to add in front of two, behind one. As I weave, I'm pulling this way, front of two, behind one, so that the basket becomes nice and round. As you weave, you adjust your stakes in front of two and behind one. In front of two, behind one. Front of two. So always at the bottom of the basket you find a whale, at least 2 or 3 turns of whale. So actually it may be a good time to make a whale, another whale now of another color. We'll use the orange alba. You want to do whale until you're happy with the general way the basket is going. So now that we did this, I could move to another weave that we call the French rand, that builds up elevation much faster and looks also very even. You see, this is a French rand. All the butts are at the bottom and all the tips at the top. That's what we'll be doing for this. Or we could do another whale. So let's do another whale, and we'll do this time alba, orange alba. So same thing, I want to find some nice thin rods. So I will need 6. So I take 6 rods, 6 or 7. I can take a couple more. Here we go. Are we happy? Okay. So let's say I'll take the 3 thinnest ones, and I blend tip to tips. So one is a bit shorter, so I'll use it last. So 1 tip to tips, 2, 3, there. In front of 2, behind 1. Here we go again. The 3-rod whale. In front of 2, behind 1. In front of 2, behind 1. And of course, always the left thumb. The left thumb is constantly holding the weaver on the stake. And if the weaver kinks, it's on the stake that it should kink. So here we are, finishing the last 3 willows for the whale. And now you can clip these off if they're in your way. And with a wrapping iron, you can go around the basket. It's not even, I find that important. For a bigger basket, you could even go with a hammer to pack things up, but it doesn't really matter that much. Now, we will move to the next weave, which is called the French rand. To do a French rand, you need as many weavers as you have stakes. So we have 20 stakes, we will find 20 weavers. Yeah, just for fun, we'll use 10 weavers of purpurea and 10 weavers of alba. So we'll see what happens. And so we're going to take weavers a little bit thinner than the stakes. So I'm going to select 10 albas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 11. So I can take a dozen. This way I can choose. Check if they're good. Okay. And now about the same length. And about the same length, a little bit too short. Okay, that's pretty close. Well, you see, if you have a bundle, if you want to take the longest ones, you can take the top of the bundles, and you have all the longest ones. Okay, so it's amongst those, I'm going to take 10. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9. Okay, we'll take that one. 10. Bon. So, and so the willow, you always have the willow lying down, never standing up. If the bundles of soaked willows were standing up, they would, the tips would dry really fast. Okay, so here I have my 10, and we're about the same length. Okay, so I start anywhere with, say I'm going to start with purpurea. So the weave is just in and out, and this is what you do. You take a willow, you put it like this, maybe 1 centimeter in, you will trim later. And you move ahead one, meaning hold with your thumb and go behind the next rod. Now, to the left of this willow, you add the next willow, like this, going counterclockwise. And now we put an alba. So you move it like this to the left. Always. And now, purpurea, you put it like this, thumb in front of one, behind one. And now to go faster, I'm going to go twice in front of one, behind one. And now from now on, I will go 2 times. 1 and 2. And we start. 1 and 2. So always the left thumb. So you want to work nice and in front of you, like this. Back. In front of them. Put it in front of one, behind one, in front of one, behind one. Put it in front of one, behind one, in front of one, behind one. Okay, we're close to the end. So each stake has to receive a weaver. Now we have to look, we have to look carefully. 1, 2. And you see, this one didn't get one yet. And the first one, okay, we're good. So 1 and 2. So now I start again with the first willow that I put in, and I keep doing 1 and 2. And you see we have now 2 in the same gap. 1 and 2. We have again 2 in the same gap, and we see how we do. And here where I increased to 2 strokes, I have also 2 pairs in the same interval, so that these are the rules. You always use the lowest willow first. You think of it in this term: lower pair, upper pair. So lower pair, front willow, 1, 2. Rear willow, 1, 2. Upper pair, front willow, 1, 2. Rear willow, 1, 2. And now we have again the same pair that got moved. So we keep weaving like this: 1, 2, 1, 2. And to make it faster, we're going to do now 3 strokes: 1, 2, 3. Up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It doesn't have to, you don't have to increase to 3, but it makes things faster. 3. Now, if I want the basket to go slightly in, that's when I lower the tie to make the, here we go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. There. See, I give myself lots of room. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up. So here I am, the last one. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here are my pairs. Always the lowest willow first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Always the lowest willow first. This is actually all you have to think about. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see that since we alternated the alba and the purpurea, we get stripes in the basket. And the lowest willow first. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could also do a double French round by using 2 willows at each stake, or double or triple. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see, when you use wild willow, and you have a willow that is maybe a little bit brittle, maybe you can use it like this in the French round or in a 3-rod well, and you save your best willow for the stakes. It's actually really nice to use wild material. There's so much in the side of the roads that the highways cut. Because in order to be straight, the willow has to be cut. And so where it's cut, it grows back. And the willow of the year, that's what you want. That's what we call osier, is the shoot of the year. So that under a power line or on the side of roads, you can find in the ditches a lot of willow. Everywhere I've been, even in France, it's along the rivers. I heard that in Alberta, the ice cuts the willow on the rivers, and then it grows back straight. So there is abundance of wild material. Willow is also easy to grow. It needs ample water and enough sun. It doesn't need good soil. I think there is over 200 and something varieties of willows in North America, known varieties, because they cross. You can create, well, new varieties must get created all the time. So you see, I'm finishing at the tips. 1, 2, and if they're not exactly the same length, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really show at the end if you have, say, like here, 2 in school, it's all good. So now that we are here, we will do another 3-rod well before the border. And again, I'm taking 6. I'm going to select 12 willows. So sometimes I do this to get them all really exactly the same lengths. Because you see, in a bundle of willow that here it's, say, 1.20 meters, 120 centimeters, you will have willows ranging from 120 to 100. There is a 20 centimeter variation within the bundle, which is why I sort the French way every 20 centimeters instead of every foot. And then this way it's sorted more finely. So I'm going to take 12 here, because 6 and 6. 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Are they all good? They're all good. I select the 6 thinnest ones, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7, and I start my whale, and I take 3. I take 3 willows. The left hand holds behind one, behind the next, behind the next, and the pattern is in front of 2, behind 1. Now I don't have enough room, so either I cut it or here we go. In front of 2, behind 1. 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 So I will do a slight variation now. I started here, right? Now I'm going to abandon this for a while, and I'm going to start a new whale here, exactly opposite, which I will weave, so that we have 2 sets of whale, and so that the addings, when you add fat to fat, butt to butt, that they will be on opposite sides also. So I abandon this and take 3 willows, start a new whale. 1, so they go underneath, 2, 3, left hand holds, front of 2, behind 1. Front of 2. Okay, always left thumb holding the weaver. Front of 2. If your weavers, if your stakes were closer together, you would do a 4-rod whale instead of 3. But a 3-rod whale is the most common. In front of 2, behind 1. Now I'm going over the first whale that I started. And now that it's in, I start to pull this way on the whale. In front of 2, behind 1. In front of 2, behind 1. I arrive where I abandoned. I start this one now. In front of 2, behind 1. In front of 2, behind 1. So therefore, we have 2 sets of whale, and each whale needs 6 rods. That's why I selected 12. In front of 2, behind 1. In front of 2, behind 1. Okay, in front of 2, behind 1. In front of 2, behind 1, a bit short, we back up. Okay, here we are now. Time to add fat to fat. In front of 2, behind 1, just good. In front of 2, behind 1. So you see, my addings will be roughly opposite. So I take 3 that are matching. If I have 3, I put the fattest one on the left, you see. I put the weakest one on the right, so that they would be about matching. By the time this one reaches here, it will be a bit thinner. And here we go. In front of 2, behind 1. Front of 2, behind 1. Front of 2. Always the left thumb. I can't emphasize enough about the left thumb. Front of 2, behind 1. There, the same. 1, 2, 3. in front of 2, behind 1, 2. So we forget the whale, we've finished the whale, we trim always with the blade towards the basket. You pull a little bit, you pull not too much, but just a little bit so that it's flush. You don't want the ends sticking out, so don't be afraid to cut nice and flush because they're not going to come out. And you can trim everything so that you're sure that it sits on a steak. Okay, and now before doing the border, you look if you think your basket is straight. And I think it's a little bit high here. I'm going to tap a little bit. I'm pretty happy. So now with the rod, you're going to decide where you want the handle. Usually you follow the center of the cross and you think, okay, am I good here or am I good there? So you can follow the center of the cross like this or go perpendicular. That also looks okay. Well, I'm pretty happy here if the two halves look the same. So I'm just going to, are we happy here? Yeah. Just going to mark those spots with a little willow. So we have finished the size of the basket and put 2 sticks about 2 inches deep to prepare for the core of the handle. Now you might want to look one last time if there is a bit of a high spot. You gently tap. Okay. Now to do the border, each willow will have the same path as the other. Each willow will go, so we'll go behind 1, in front of 2, behind 1. This will be the path for each willow. But the willows are woven in a set of 3. And this is what you do. You see, I kink a willow about the thickness, about, if it's 1/8 of an inch, about 1, 2, 3. I kink like this the first 3 willows and only the first 3 willows. And then with the willow on the left, I go behind 1. And again, the next willow, behind 1. And again, the next willow, behind 1. There. And so, now, very much like in the 3-rod whale, the pattern will be that the last willow of the 3 goes in front of 2, behind 1, and then the last stake gets kinked in and follows side by side. There. And there. Now I start over. The last one goes in front of 2, behind 1, go along. Side by side. In front of 2, behind 1, side by side. And now we have 3 pairs. And you can see that this one has finished its path, and so has this one, so has this one. So you always use the front willow of the 3rd pair, that is the pair closest to you. In front of 2, behind 1, and bring in the last willow. In front of 2, behind 1, bring in the last willow. In front of 2, behind 1. And bring it nice and beside it. In front of 2, behind 1. We could do another style of border where it's standing up like this, but for this one, we go nice and nice, flat, in front of two, behind one. So where the stick is, you just ignore the stick. You just keep doing this, in front of two, behind one. Keep doing, in front of two, behind one. So this is a 3-1 border. Ah, I heard crack. So I put my awl here. Trim the willow. We'll see if it breaks. I just put it on the left there. There. It's okay. There. In front of two. Behind one. In front of two. Behind one. In front of two. Behind one. So you see, I started the border near the handle. You always start the border near a handle because that's where you're likely to maybe kink a willow or two at the end, and it will get covered up by the handle. So that's why you start it by the handle, because each willow has to have the same path. So we have to finish off all the willows in front of two. There. Now I'm going in front of two, behind one, like so. Hop. It's okay. It's okay, but there. Near the willow. Okay. There. Now, this one, you can soften it with your thumb like this a little bit. It's going behind one. Behind. Okay, okay. There. Go. Now, in front of two, behind one, here. Front of two, behind one. You see, I soaked the willow a little bit too hot. You should never soak the willow more than 60 or 65 degrees. And I went a little bit too hot, and now the bark on some varieties, the bark peels off. But it's going to be just okay. There we go. Is there one more stroke to do? Tuck. In front of two. There. And it's the last willow. See, I told you there would be a kink. It's worse than a kink, it's broken. So then I can simply add something a bit fatter. I'll add a willow like this in front of two, behind one, and it will be just fine. So you notice that now that we're finishing there, I'm finishing here, and I look at the next stake, and there is a willow. Everything has completed the circle. Now with the shears, always with the blade towards your work, you trim everything, pulling a bit so it's nice and flush. You trim all the stakes that end up in your left hand as you go around the top of the basket. Now we can take it off the table. And so now I can take off those sticks. And with the shears, always with the blade near the work, you can trim everything flush. Now I can finally trim those. And on the inside as well, on the inside, you trim with the blade near the work and also in the same plane as the wall of the basket. There. So I trim all the willows from the French rand. That's when I really like this tool. And it's great to go and fish out the rod, and then you trim. Sometimes if you want to avoid the trimming, then before doing your French rand, you cut all the willows neatly square like this, and then you don't have to do the final trimming. But if you do the final trimming, then it's a little bit better. It's closer. It's something you want to do right away, though, when the willows are still green. You don't want to, green, soaked. And you, of course, make sure that you don't trim too short, and that the rods have to be resting on a stake. Actually, about trimming, this is the best tool, this paring knife. It's a really, when they're very sharp, you trim like this, but it's very tricky because you have to trim and stop on the next rod without cutting it, so that it's much easier to trim with pruning shears, but not quite as good. Okay. Voila. The next step is now to do the handle, and the basket's done. So to do the handle, we start by putting in a core. So where are the holes? They're here. So let's see, the biggest hole is here. I want the cut to be going against the stake. You make it nice and long, and insert nice and deep, maybe like this, nice. Now with your thumb, you can decide on the shape of your handle, and usually a low handle is good. It depends on the style of the basket, you see. Not too high, not too high. Go for aesthetically something you might want like this. So it's here, plus I want it about this deep, so I cut here, and I cut against the stick, a long cut. Here we go. You can maybe enlarge the hole a little bit. There, nice and deep. There. If I want to make a little bit oval and fatter handle, then I use 2 rods. I take another rod and I put the butt on the thin side here. I put 2 rods side by side to make a fat handle, but for this basket I think we make it a little bit thinner. I now have to select about a dozen long, slim willows to wrap the handle with. So here we are. We need about a dozen. You see, I'm going to sharpen 6 purpurea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, say 7. And then I'm going to also 7 alba. You see? So, okay. So I sharpen them just in the same way that we sharpened the stakes. I'm just taking 2 kinds of willow because you can make a little pattern on the handle. Of course, you can just do a simple handle with 1 type of willow on the same color. So it's probably going to be good. 1, 2, 3. They're a little bit fatter, so I'm going to cut them a little bit off, a little bit there. So now I take about 5 willows. I hold the basket like this. You insert them just a little tiny bit. 1, 2, 3, let's say 4. And then as a group, then you insert them a good, there, all the way here. Now you want it nice and deep for strength. And now the weavers, they will wrap 3 times around the handle to the right. So you go 1, and you, of course, you're careful not to kink them. 1, make sure there is no overlap. 2 is at the center. And the 3rd time finishes on the inside. There. Now, how much? Let's see what happens with 3. To start with, 1, 2. Try to find about the same willows. 1, 2, 3. I wonder if we need 4. We'll see. 1, 2, 3. And so we'll add 1 more. It looks like we have room. Just it's always better. It's better to put 1 less than 1 too many. If you have too many willows in the handle, it really shows, and you can feel it. So here we go. There. You see? So now with the awl, I make a hole here into the wale, not right under the border, but nice and into the meat of the basket. And now you take your 5 willows, making sure they don't overlap. It goes to the right side of my awl. There. I'll leave the awl so to kind of protect the willow. something happened here. You see, if they cross, of course it's not what you want. There, okay. Here we go. You can rearrange them there. Do you want them nice and side by side? Here we go. Same. Put the on. Be careful not to kink the willows, and keeping them nicely together. To the right of your all, put them as a group. Yeah, if there is one that, oh, it's all good. No? This one should be here. There. Okay. Now, are we happy? And the ties, I'll use purpurea for the ties. So I take two that are about the same and nice and, you know, there's one a bit too short. Okay, there. We sharpen them. Yeah. Poke it nice and deep in a tight spot. There. There. I pull hard. And they go. See, from the right to the left. At which point this rod goes one full turn, nice and low, not too high, one full turn, then it goes below. At each point, these are folded down as the weaver keeps wrapping around. Now, I twist the willow so that it won't break, as I want the willow to go right back on itself. There. Once. When you twist a willow like this, a bit like a rope, you can ask, it will not break. Hopefully. There. After which you lose the willow in the weaving. There. Can make it come out again once, but it doesn't really want to go anywhere. Okay. The Mexicans, they go like this, puff, to put the. That's something I love, to travel and meet other weavers in other countries, because they are so good. Second willow, same, poke it in nice and deep. Round, nice and low, up. The group is folded down as it gets, and you pull hard, make it nice, strong. Now, back in there. Okay, a little bit of peeling. Second turn. There. And the willow gets lost in the weaving. There. Okay. Sometimes when you put the handle, you have to adjust the trimming a little bit, as it may have pulled on a willow. So here we are, and the basket's done. Often you can add a foot, and on a basket like this you would use this crooked awl by inserting 20 rods and making a little foot like this, so that the basket sits on a foot, which is what you do if you do a basket that goes straight up. You always add a little foot so that the basket doesn't wear out on the bottom, but on the foot. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and I hope I'll be making lots of different videos to show different types of baskets, and also videos in French, because I know it's horrible for French people to listen to another French person speaking English. My apologies. Okay, bye.